Nice.
Hey everyone, welcome to a new Art of the Game, and this is where three experienced game masters talk about games, and we provide some tips, tricks, and a little debate about different topics. And today, Woody came up with the original idea for this. So, Woody, why don't you tell us what the today's topic is?
Well, it actually kind of, I can't remember what I was watching, but it kind of hit me the other day that there is. See, traditionally, you have character classes in RPGs. And then where you have like you're a fighter, or you have a particular profession or a career goal direction, right? And then you have a specific set of abilities, and then you attach a race to that, and then maybe some other options will be added in, but you kind of know what your direction is, right? But then they've had some other games come about that have gone in a different direction. Like you had GURPS, Shadowrun did this, Palladium does it sometimes, Dark 2, right? Where you don't have a character class, you build a character based upon selecting different abilities you want. And sometimes they have archetypes you can lean towards as an example of like, they do kind of have character classes, but you have to kind of like build a particular archetype of direction. But ultimately it still comes down to you're picking lots of abilities. And that option is really good for a player because it gives them lots of customization and they're very happy with it. It is a problem for the game master because you need, like, if the GM, being a GM, the class system is often better because it's easier for you to think with what NPCs are going to be. And it makes it much harder if you don't have that, that structure. And so it's interesting, I think, to talk about the pros and cons of both ones and kind of like how do you handle these things from a GM's perspective and being able to run a game and being able to kind of do it on the fly. Because you can certainly do it on the fly more easily if you have exact character classes. Anyways, take it away, Greg or Marks. What do you guys think?
I don't know. I've played Call of Cthulhu. It's probably my favorite classless game I've played. Because it's just simple. You just have a whole bunch of skills and you pick those skills, which include your weapons, your, whatever skills. I don't really have an opinion. I do think fantasy leads itself more towards classes because you have fantasy tropes, right? Mm-hmm. And usually people are looking for a fantasy trope. Maybe you could say the same about sci-fi too, to be honest. But when it comes to like modern day things, we had an episode about plausibility. It actually is more plausible that just random people have random skills because that's kind of how real life is, and we trade those skills, right? So like that I think more modern day does lead more towards classless. Because it's easy to relate to. But other than that, I don't really have I think I like classes in general, but maybe it's just me.
Well, I was hoping for a more polarized.
I hate classes. There we go.
There we go.
Yeah.
I think classes are crap. No, I actually do like, I like either light classes, like Monster of the Week is technically their classes, their playbooks are, but they're very different than what D&D would be like. And there's probably like that with OSR, Shadow Dark, stuff like that. But in a way, and Blades in the Dark and stuff. But I kind of like, skill-based type system like Call of Cthulhu, Mithras, that kind of stuff. I've always been very curious about those systems, and now that I've played them more, the more I like it. They're not perfect, no system is, but I feel like it's pretty easy to learn, and I feel like it reflects, it allows me the freedom to create stuff a little bit more. And even though having classes, I think when you have a complex class system like Pathfinder, 2E, or even D&D, it's kind of helpful to have it, but then again, if they're like level 4 or 5, it gets a little less handy because now you're trying to remember all the chain effects of stuff, and especially if you don't play around with wizards or something else very often. It's like I had to play around with druids lately in Curse of Straw, and I'm like, oh my gosh, what's this spell? Because it's like, oh, this spell, and I'm like, oh, spell memorized. Let me look it up real quick. So that element doesn't help me out a whole lot, because then a player might be like, druid spell doesn't look that way and stuff. So, but when you have a skill-based system, is like when you roll a skill, you roll your skill, and it tends to be a little easier to improv and fly.
I think what it comes down to is the further away from actual everyday reality you get, the less it's actually defined. And because of that, you're more likely to fall into a more fictional trope because it's more fiction. Whereas the closer you are to modern day, the more it's nonfiction, and the more you're going to compare things you see. Like, you'll never just be like, oh, that guy's a fighter, like he has some fighting skill. He probably knows how to program too. I don't know. It's just different with modern day.
Well, just strictly from the logistics, right? Like, kind of like, I guess where I would go with this one, kind of point the direction we're discussion. Like, the genesis of this is providing knowledge for people that that they're entering into this hobby and never done it before, right? Because like, there's so many people like that, like right now in the last 5 years are doing this for the first time and they want to be a GM. And, like, for me, I have trained myself to just be able to sit down and do it with very little prep time. Like, sometimes I don't even prep on purpose because I want to keep that muscles fresh.
I rarely prep NPCs.
Yeah. And because like, okay, well, they're going to walk into a shop. They're going to meet the shopkeeper. Like, there you go. Right. Yeah. That's not going to be statted out. And then of course my asshole player goes, what's his name, Woody? But like, but like the thing is that, like, you don't always know what combat encounters are going to occur. You can't prep for everything, and there will never be something you're not prepared for. And so, just as a simple advice, if you're new to GMing, playing a classless system is probably not a smart move, unless that game comes with a list of pre-built NPCs you can draw from. Like, at least the Shadowrun game did that right? Where, in the back of the 5e book, there was a very small list of pre-generated NPCs. There weren't very many, but it was just enough to have something. But like, if you are playing a classless system, like, I don't know, like, let's pull one off the shelf I've got. Heroes Unlimited is similar to this, right? When you're playing a game like this, the burden of preparation for a game master is much higher than what it takes if you're dealing with a game like this one, where every character class falls into a very defined role, and they have very clear, very concise abilities. It's relatively easy for you to learn the game, learn what those classes can do, and kind of be able to wing it, right? Mm-hmm. And you don't necessarily have to have that NPC statted out. You can kind of go, yeah, good enough. This many hit points. We know he's level 3, give him these abilities, and he could be enough of a threat to keep these guys entertained for a few minutes so they don't know that I'm not prepped.
Yeah. I could build a level 5 5e fighter in my head in 2 seconds. Like, exactly. It's just, know what they have.
And you could, to a degree, do that with Pathfinder in 3.5. Like, a lot of games can function that way. Rifts, very easy to do that in Rifts. And because like your fighters usually have, like, there's like 3 or 4 skills that every fighter is going to have. And so you kind of know what their bonuses are going to be. I can tell you right now, off the top of my head, your average warrior character in the Palladium system is probably going to have +6 to parry and dodge, probably +2 or +4 to strike, plus their weapon bonuses. Add an extra +2 on there. I'm probably right, just off the top of my head, right? But like, that's the advantage of a character class based system. And if you're dealing it with something where it's like every character is built individually, you have to, there's a lot more work that goes into doing it, and it's probably not a good idea if you're brand new to the hobby.
I think it depends on the system, though. I don't think Call of Cthulhu is very hard to put a character together, because then you just need to know, like, would this guy have a skill? Probably so. How good is he? And you can get a rough number. Just as easy.
That's where I say modern day is different, because modern day you have direct references. Like, if you think this guy is like CIA, well, he's probably good at lying. He's probably good at a weapon. So you just kind of give him some points in those things, right? And
yeah, there's a reason why, like, D20 Modern had to add another character class with their, like, strong hero, tough hero, and everyday heroes did something similar with their version of 5e.
Because you do need that versatile, like, could be any type.
Yeah, you need that. If you're going to do a class system, you kind of need that extra layer to make it feel more like a modern day thing.
But the further you get away from modern day, it changes. Go ahead.
But one of the things that I did in my RPG is I just put in a class. All it is utility. It's the character you play if you want some crazy set of skills, and they're not combat based. And that comes from my experience playing Palladium games, but it's also more realistic, and like because it more represents certain kinds of people you're actually going to run into. Not everybody's going to have like a law enforcement background or a military background or be a stone cold killer.
Yeah. Everyone knows 5e. Every single character is supposed to do a lot of damage somehow.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
every
yeah.
character. The janitor.
It shouldn't be that way.
No, I agree. We had to go see
Absolutely
our one on Game Balance, and you'll see our
Yeah.
opinions on that.
Yeah,
But,
exactly.
Yeah, I don't know. The one interesting game that just came out, it's not really a game. I don't know what you call it. But the DC-20 Dungeon Coach made a rules light that he made for his kids called DC-12.
Oh, that's funny.
And but the whole premise, it's a 6-page, maybe 5 if you take credits and stuff, 5-page rule set. And your character creation is you pick one of the stats to focus on, and you get a bonus to everything under that stat, right?
Nice.
And leveling up is like you can pick another stat. So, and that's the entire premise of the game. There's no skills. There's nothing, really everything. And you just roll a d12 and add your stat to it. So it's interesting. I wonder how that would pair, because that's technically classless, or is that class? I don't know. Maybe it's outside this whole discussion completely.
Well, not having seen it, I don't know that I would have an opinion.
You have something like fighter or anything you become?
No, it's literally
class.
the only selection you do as part of character creation is select a stat. Everything else is flavor.
So it's non-class, just not skill-based. There's no skill system.
There's no skills. You just have your stats to start out. Because again, it's supposed to be extremely simple for like young kids, right?
Yeah.
That's why he did it. And so I wonder how that would play out, because that actually sounds to me like it would be actually easy for new players, not harder. Because like you said, usually new players like having to be locked into like an easy to understand funnel that they're going through, right, for their character.
Well, they kind of need that. Because if you burden somebody down with too many options, they can get trapped in indecision or not knowing what to do. It's like new player. Okay, you're playing the fighter, go. And then the GM, again, like the GM has the biggest burden, but if you're brand new to it and you got to juggle all this shit, it is so much easier if you have very clearly defined things that you can use for reference without having to spend weeks and weeks prepping on NPCs and all this stuff.
Yeah, so I'm curious how something like DC-12 would work for new players. I imagine it'd be pretty easy too, but it's only because it went like way rules light maybe for new players or something. But I don't know. It's just an interesting thought experiment. We should try it.
But like Fates doesn't have classes; it's rules light, and I think there's a little bit of a learning curve the first time you play it because it's so open with its aspects that it confuses people because they just don't know they don't understand until they start playing. But then I think after they play a little bit, it's pretty easy for people to do what they want, and you can play cats. Well, how many games can you play cats? I'm just saying.
Okay, maybe. Whenever I've been introducing new players, most of my past experience has been with Palladium, so I was teaching people, the games that I was playing, right? Mm-hmm. And like dealing with the Rifts RPG, which we often did, or the Palladium Fantasy or something, it was generally quite easy for new game masters to kind of wrap their head around that. This one was tougher because,
it's the superpowers. Superpowers are always tough,
but every single type of superpower, it's like it is kind of class because you treat the mutant like a class, but it's not really a character class; it's a power set. And so you have all these abilities you can pick within the mutants and robots. But every single power source is it's kind of like its own little mini game almost. But then you also can you roll up what your education level is, and you get different skills depending upon what you get for that. So the skill system is separate from the power categories. So you really don't have character classes. And so you build a robot with completely different abilities than a mutant or experiment character would. And you got your aliens in here. Cyborgs are a different list than robots. You have technology based characters that have equipment and super vehicles and stuff. Each of those chapters has an entirely different section separate from all the others with different stuff.
That sounds like an actually pretty complex game then. It's probably on par with 5e maybe.
And see, it's actually more complex than 5e, Greg.
Yeah.
But what's interesting about it is for me, I just I digested. I loved it. I just memorized the book. Basically, it's somehow I was able to do that, and so it was no problem. But
well, that's what I was kind of getting at. If you're gonna have a complicated system, this is what I didn't like about Shadowrun when I was playing it. I played only 4e, but there was so much freaking option overload when you start that game. Because even though they have actually classes, technically, kind of, it's weird.
They have archetypes that you
archetypes,
you emulate,
And I was a technomancer, I think, but there's so many options that you can put points in. It is so confusing. I was lost halfway through it, and I ended up making a terrible character, and the DM wouldn't let us fix our stupid choices because we didn't know how the game works. But I think if you want to introduce people to role playing and you want to do it with like a simple system, sure, go classless because it's simple. It doesn't matter, right? But if you want to introduce them to more of the strategic side of role playing and where you actually have some interesting rules to work around and work with, I agree. Having classes helps a ton.
Well, I think if you're a new game master, going classless as your first game is a huge mistake. Like unless the game is built to make it easy for you to approach it. Like
right.
There would have to be a large pool
like
of
PBTA games.
Yeah,
pretty good.
Yeah,
I think Rules Lights is different, but yeah.
I guess it is still class technically. Yeah.
Well, Powered by the Apocalypse does actually a pretty competent job of structuring. At least the Monster of the Week one that I played with you guys. Like that one does a pretty competent job of organizing it because you have a list of abilities, right? And it's like okay, so check it off. There you got your NPC, and but it's also very like this ability could be anything. This ability could be shooting a gun as much as it could be throwing a lightning bolt, or I mean, it's like they give you a lot of freedom to flavor it as opposed to having like exact abilities. And I think stuff like this is fine if you have enough enthusiasm for it that you're just gonna read the shit out of it and then memorize it.
I wonder if you would like Mutants and Masterminds because it's the sidestep away from a 5e, but it's all superheroes. It's no classes. Although they have archetypes you can use if you want to help, just make your characters quicker. And they have a very elaborate power system with all sorts of stuff in it. Because originally, the first edition was pretty much 5e, just a few tweaks, and then of course the power system. So
yeah, well, it's what it was that I was very sold on this particular game, the Palladium games because I just really enjoyed it. It had the thing that I was excited about at the beginning, and I just collected all the books and. I like the interconnectivity of it, and
yeah, I do too.
And I didn't necessarily feel the need to go learn, mess with other game systems because like I've got all these books and they all go together, so the fantasy game could mix in with the the sci-fi game versus with the superhero game and the horror game. All these things could interact, and you could, like have so much so many resources. But that's what attracted me to it is I had everything I could ever want to play all in one place, and so. And then
you can't really do that in 5e. I mean, there are some other games, but they don't all play nice with each other with other genres. It's like your safest bet is fantasy.
Yeah, and I did make mine to play nice, which I thought was important because I think it'd be good to be able you could port this information into your game and do something with it. So it's it's like it is its own thing, but I just I guess as the businessman viewpoint, like you want it to be appealing and you want it to be useful. So
there's a Doctor Who 5e. So hey,
yeah. But I guess for me, like that's really kind of like as far as the conversation goes. It's like because like as a new game master, you're going to come in and you're going to need something that lets you learn the skills of the trade, right? And you want to do it with something that takes the burden off of you while you're mastering these other aspects. And it's like, it is so much easier to run a game where you have, like very clearly defined options. Like even Pathfinder, for example, if you play Pathfinder 1, which is pretty complicated, you can, like I'm on my shelf, I got the NPC Codex. You could literally have a book of NPCs. They're all set out. You just pick one that's cool and run with that dude. And a lot of these games also have like say, even Curse of Strahd, the books, if they're written right, every NPC you're ever going to need should be in that book. And so it makes it very, very easy to run it. And you don't have to build nearly as much.
Yeah. I still think if you're doing a game without skills, let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Classless is pretty easy to make NPCs because you're just kind of picking what their stats are and that's it. And then otherwise you just kind of do whatever you think that.
But a lot of these classless games are just full of like instead of having you have these character abilities for each as you level up. No, you can just pick whatever you want, right? So I'll take a little bit of a wizard, take a little bit of druid,
even
a little bit
Pathfinder
of fighter.
has that problem, by the way.
Yeah,
because when you get into the feat trees, they're huge, especially with all the expansion books, I guess. But
it got so big that even they don't know what they've got anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
And if you don't do the correct order in Pathfinder, you're screwed.
It should never be that where you can only build it one way. Any character build should be good. It should always be that way.
Yeah, I mean, GURPS, for example, is probably not more popular because it is overwhelming at first because it's so much stuff to it and it is generic. I think Call of Cthulhu does better because it's percentile based, which is easier to understand than the D6 type system that they do in GURPS. Not that's hard, but just a little bit more transparent. And that I think because they have specific settings to help guide you in directions with like Call of Cthulhu with the horror angle and certain roles. They're very time period specific in Call of Cthulhu. They like to have their 1920s in here or your 1930s there or, whatever. Yeah. And they play that up a lot. And I think that helps the players get in the right mindset and stuff. So
I think I know what it is. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's what you were saying, Woody. Like if you want to read that book and memorize the rules, you can make it work, right? Mm-hmm. And it really comes down to, you can do classless if you can actually easily memorize all the rules. That's why Call of Cthulhu is easy to do classless, because everyone looks at the same skill list the entire game. And so when you actually have to make an NPC, well, you know all the skills. You've looked at them the entire game, and there's literally nothing else to that game, right? So it's easy to make NPCs. If you're making an NPC for that superheroes one, it's easy if you've memorized the book. But otherwise, it's going to be very hard, right? So I think it really comes down to the scope of the rules that you need to know, because when you have classes, suddenly you don't have to know all the rules. You can just know that one class.
Yeah. And it admittedly, the book looks more complicated than it is. But like every time we've had a new GM go, I want to do a superhero game, and they want then they pick this one, it is a little bit of a shit show. Like it's not a good starter game.
Yeah, superheroes is tough. I think the creator means masterminds. I think it was creator or co-creator. And I'm sorry, it was first edition was based on D20 actually originally. He made another simpler game called Icons, I believe. And there's also Tiny Supers too. So those are really easy type of games to play supers. And I play an action every other Tuesday. I play an actual play over at Dreamslayer Studios doing classic Marvel superheroes. So
it's honestly my least favorite genre.
Yeah, it's hard.
It's so overdone these days.
You just sunk yourself. We're gonna have to get you into something. I will say though, what I like about this game particularly is that every single category of power is unique though. Like because in a lot of the games I've looked at, you're drawing from the same pool of powers. It's just you're flavoring it as technology or flavoring it as magic, right? Like when I was looking at the Marvel Multiverse role playing game, it was so bland to me.
It is bland,
and a bunch of sameness.
Yeah, and I've seen other games where it's like I remember looking at the one briefly for Valiant, and again it was the same deal where it's the same pool of powers. You just well, it's either the X-Men Manowar suit or it's a psychic character or something, and And in this one though, it makes the game more complicated. Like you have a psychic character and their powers work differently. They have a different system, and and magic is again different, right? Magic powers work different. There's different power skills for different things, right? And then the superpowered characters are big, impactful effects, but they only do one thing well, right? And so it's like you're kind of a one-trick pony, and then the robot characters, like the tech characters have a weird power curve where they start out powerful and then they kind of dip because they get hurt and they have to figure out how to repair your equipment, right? And so they kind of have this weird, anyways. But like it's so interesting to me because every character is so different and they're built differently and they all have different things they do well. And it's like I like that variety, but then having that makes it hard unless you're really specialized in that game. And so like when I run it, it's great, but like I've specialized in it, and it's
And if
you're
you're new to DMing or GMing, whatever, don't do classless unless you can memorize all the rules.
Yeah, and keep
some
out
games that's easy.
And keep out for the upcoming miniseries where you force Greg to play this game and make him have fun.
but you don't say classless, because class you still have to learn a bunch of rules too, right?
Yeah,
but if you're the GM, you don't get to be just a level one player. For a player, it's easier.
Yeah.
But
it's so much easier for the game master though. Like just if you're new, like just trust me on this. Don't pick GURPS as your first game. Like
don't do the GURPS. But I will say, like it's class Monster of the Week. Everyone I've introduced who's brand new to the role playing games, never played one ever before. always loves it, and they're always confused by D&D common stuff. They're always just like, what? I got to do what? Especially combat. They're just frustrated because they can't do something that they imagine that a normal person can do, sometimes. And then I think like Fate, even though it might be a little bit of a problem, I think I've been to cons and taught people how to do a Fate thing in one session, and they've had fun and they weren't confused. You just don't have to introduce everything to them. You just don't have to be like, here's all your options of every single thing and on the planet or something.
I like Monster League much more than Fate, personally.
I kind of do too, but it's whatever. If you want to play cats.
I think there's no mystery why 5e took the top spot back from Pathfinder, though, because even though it still kind of suffers from some of the structural issues that D&D has always had, it's very easy to play. It's very easy to learn. It's not complicated, and it's also it's a relatively easy introduction for a game master as well.
Yeah, it's easier.
Yeah,
because you're all level 1 when you first.
Well, also, I mean, there's so many monsters that are already defined and stuff, right? You just go flip to it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
you can just flip to a random monster. Okay, we're fighting this. We're just scale it down.
Yeah.
Yep. We're gonna fight a baby pit fiend. So
I want to try DC 12. I don't know. It seems so stupidly simple that I'm like, this can't be a real game.
Yeah, and I'm not joking. I want to run you through Heroes Unlimited, Greg.
Oh boy,
it's gonna be fine.
Do you know how many freaking superhero stuff we have come out every year? I'm so sick of it.
Who cares? It's different when you're the superhero.
My last superhero was I was a weird guy that said puns to psychically damage people.
The Marvel one, yeah.
Yeah, it's not going to be like that, man. Like trust me, you'll have a good time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right, so I think we're wrapping it up now. So let us know in the comments what you think. Do you like games with classes? Do you like games without classes? Do you like lighter or heavy rules?
And hate post about my comment about superhero stuff.
Yeah. Do you think Greg is completely wrong about superheroes? Did Thanos snap him away? I don't know.
Tell Greg you want him to play Heroes Unlimited.
Yeah, as long as there's no blip.
And if I may, we also have this. It's not a superhero thing, but this is some artwork for the Sad
Will it still be going by the time this comes out?
Yes, it'll be at the end. Plus, we're also going to take late pledges as well. But I think when my wife's first Kickstarter for the Sad Hot Dog Man, this is the Sad Hot Dog Man. I don't know what the skull's all about. That's just the artwork that our guy did. But we don't have anything yet in the universe. But maybe it's anyway. But
he could be a superhero.
Yeah, here's the Pimento Man. He's super cool. The actual guy is the Pimento. He's taken over somebody's body and walked, puppeting around because he ate his brain and consumed it. Anyways, these are some of the cool characters in the thing. We're doing an RPG zine for a Kickstarter, and by the time this airs, it'll be right at the end, I think. So
go to Miniature Dragon, look for the hot dog, and click it.
Yes, the robot hot dog beating up another hot dog. Yes, you'll find the top of the thing. You'll find our link to our Kickstarter, and you can see the video and support my wife and her endeavors. Even though I'm the one doing all the work.
You were saying
calling it out. She doesn't know. She's not a game designer. I wrote all this stuff, but it's she's the one that wrote the comic book, and it's really weird. It's like it's weird sci-fi. You can play all kinds of crazy stuff.
I thought it was super serious, gritty. Yeah.
No, it's not serious at all.
And it has classes.
Yes, we do have character classes. Yes, the one of the main villains in the story is he's a living pretzel called the Pretzel Man, and the loop of the pretzel is his mustache.
Does he kill people with diabetes?
We haven't got into it that degree. But I did stat out his race. He's called a carboid, and because he's a pretzel, he has natural armor, and slimy creatures feel pain when they touch him because of the salt. And
can you rub the salt in their eyes?
Yeah, and they have a natural ability where they can make you feel bad about yourself and take psychic damage. Because they're kind of like Ferengis, I guess.
That should be the ice cream man or something.
Yeah,
you feel bad after you eat the ice cream,
right? And we have robots, and there's 3 racial variants for robots that are super fun.
Cool.
Yeah, the book's gonna have 2 character classes, some new feats, new backgrounds. You can go to Thug Camp.
I've always wanted to go. No.
Yeah, and you
That's
can
where I
take
learned all my stuff.
you can take night school as a background. It's there's a lot of fun stuff.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yep. Go check that out, folks. And also feel free to leave comments, subscribe if you want to keep up with our other episodes. We have other shows on the channel too, like Behind the Dice and Fixing the Game, which is like this amped up even more. not exactly like this, but a versus thing.
Yeah.
And other games. Oh yeah, our actual plays where we play stuff like Cyber Symbiosis. So
Hey, yeah, part 2's coming.
Hey,
yes, it should be coming really soon. It should be out by now. When you watch
Cyber
it.
Symbiosis Part 2.
I hope it is, because as we record it is not. But
Yeah, it will be. And so it ends.
cue the theme song.
Bye.
Cue the theme song. Adios. Bye-bye.
When the dice roll high, we touch the sky. But when they crash, it's a belly laugh. Genre play, lighting the way. Our tale